Tanner being my real name, obviously.
All right. So we should be getting into the race soon.
It appears as if our runners are ready enough.
All right.
And we are underway. Kicking things off with the prologue. A lot of bunny hopping here. Gives us a little bit of a speed boost. Makes things a little easier. Yep. And really only saves about a second in the prologue, but it does make a difference considering how optimized the first chapter is.
Especially the first chapter. Forsaken City is like one of the most fun beginner levels ever.
Really liking the sync too. Both streams are basically
head and head.
Yeah, perfect sync right now. But that will probably change with either buffering or load times.
Yep.
Which is totally fine. This entire tournament's being based off of IGT because Celeste has a very, very accurate IGT timer, actually.
Absolutely. That timer is very close to what actually happens during your actual real-time timer.
So to kick things off here, a little bit of tech going on. The wall kicks are basically hyper dashes along the walls. You kick after dashing upwards off of a wall, and it gives you a slight speed boost. We've got some hyper dashes, which are the dash button and the jump button being pressed at the same time, as well as Madeline dashing into the ground, which gives a speed boost while lowering the arc of her jump overall.
We also have refresh crystals, which if you touch one of them while you don't have a dash, then you replenish your dash as well as your stamina. We forgot to mention stamina. Oh. So stamina is if you climb a wall for too long, you'll lose it and you'll begin to fall down.
Unfortunate death there for Birdo, which allows Less Than Perfect more of a lead than he had.
Yep. Because they're very well in sync, especially this first chapter.
Yeah, the first and second chapter are usually very, very optimized. You're going to see Less Than Perfect finishing off there.
Once you get to Resort, it starts getting a little finicky. And now, shall I begin the old site text?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead.
Alright, so they introduce 3 new main mechanics, which are dream blocks, which if you dash through them, you'll dash infinitely until you come out the other side, giving you much needed boost. There's the keys / the locks, which honestly I don't know how to explain them properly, but they just open a door. So yeah. And then we've got Battling, which we'll get to in a second.
Battling basically follows you around and is not usually that big of an issue for runners who have times as high as we see in this race. Basically, she just follows you on a slight delay, mimicking your movements, and for the most part is very, very easy to avoid if you know what you're doing.
Yep.
There are those lock switches. Opening a door, you have to hit all of them in the same, or all the ones that are in the room to open the door. Sometimes it'll only be one, like the room that Less Than Perfect is in right now. Sometimes it'll be more. Oh, that's a very unfortunate death from Less Than Perfect as well, but that brings our racers right back neck and neck again.
Very close race, especially with Bird going full on.
Now we got a lead change as well. Birdo has stolen the lead after a couple of bluffs there from Less Than Perfect in that one.
This is becoming extremely interesting as of this moment.
It is also possible to perform hyper dashes out of the dream blocks. It's not necessarily something you see very often in Chapter 2, but when we do get to Chapter 7, which is the end of the game, the summit, you probably will see Less Than Perfect. Maybe Birdo as well. He said that he was practicing it earlier. Do some hyper dashes coming out of the dream blocks.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting later on in the game.
It's a great chapter 2 from Birdo and Less Than Perfect right behind him. It's 2 minutes, just above the sub 2 marker. Still great for a race. And there's Less Than Perfect finishing up his old set as well with a 2:13.
Very good times from both of them. And
It's
now,
ridiculously neck and neck, and now we move into chapter 3, which is the Celestial Resort.
which is where everything goes finicky.
Everything goes to die. Every run dies here.
Unless you've been practicing it consistently every single day, then it gets really weird, especially if you're going to do a race where you have to go through the whole game.
So this entire chapter is more or less cycle-based. A lot of the rooms you're going to see these little dust creatures moving around on specific cycles and basically just trying to get in Madeline's way, which makes for some very interesting strats for sure,
We also,
considering that, yeah, most things are cycle-based in this chapter.
we also are introduced to actual keys, which just, they follow you around until you get to a door with a lock on it, and then they unlock. And we'll see a skip later on today, where you skip going back by retrying.
There are also these floors, not only floors, but on walls as well. You'll see these little hairs or tentacles or whatever you want to call them. Basically, those are dust floors, and they're very, very easy to screw up with, because Madeline can only touch that area once. When she touches that area, dust will spawn there, and in turn, if she lands there again, she'll be killed.
I've actually gotten really lucky once and not activated the hairs when I climbed on it.
Really enjoying how close this race is right now.
Both on huge mess, like almost a second behind each other.
We're going to see possibly a lead change. Both of our players having trouble with the spike jump, but Less Than Perfect is the first one to get it. Birdo suffering just a little bit, and he is going to finally get it.
Yeah, lead changes.
Another lead change, Less Than Perfect now. He's in the lead, but one death can change the entire thing.
Especially in this game, since it's so short with these runners.
There are some rooms that are just incredibly stressful and incredibly time-consuming. Wow, Birdo very lucky not to die to the dust floor there. Landed on the only pixel that had free floor.
Very interesting race this race is.
So, failure to explain what the Huge Mess segment really is. There are 3 different paths in the Huge Mess segment. As you can see, whenever our runners are dropping into this big room again, you're noticing that things are disappearing, and that's because, well, our runners are basically cleaning up the Huge Mess, which is in turn why it's given its name, the Huge Mess segment. Basically, they have to hit these 3, like, little jelly blocks, and that in turn cleans up the entirety of the room for whatever reason.
Maybe they're magical, I don't know.
They could be. And you can see Birdo finishing up the 3rd section as Less Than Perfect is now moving into the elevator shaft, going on towards the end of the chapter. Oh, barely staying alive there as he lost his stamina in the elevator shaft. Good save from him. And again, that gave, that just maybe that 1 second could make a difference as Birdo is now climbing the elevator shaft himself. We really are neck and neck here still.
Earlier today, he said that he was not going to win this very easily. And this is true.
This is a cool little strat right here. He's just going to do a few hyper dashes on those pressure platforms and make it across that room, basically beating the cycles big time, getting that key, retrying, and in turn spawning himself at the beginning of the room, making it easier than, dashing all the way back. Less Than Perfect coming up on our first boss fight, technically, in the game. This is Oshiro.
The hotel manager.
He just wants you to stay at his hotel, but he got a little angry, and now he's chasing you. He basically just follows you on specific height, and then when his lightning bolt comes across the screen, that signifies that will be the path he'll be taking when he charges across the screen. Pretty easy to avoid, as long as you know what you're doing, but can be a nuisance sometimes. And as I was about to say, Less Than Perfect just bonked him on the head. That also replenishes Madeline's dash, so that can be used as a helpful little strat.
Definitely.
Oh, punishing death there from Less Than Perfect, and we're neck and neck again. This really is incredible stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm shaking in my boots. I'm so excited.
I get very animated over races that are this close. Less Than Perfect taking a death, and BirdoPrey back in the lead again. But this room is very, very long, and BirdoPrey's gonna take a death too. This room very long and punishing. A death late on in the room can be seriously time consuming. Less Than Perfect. Not sure if that was an intentional bonk, but he is going to escape that room alive and close off Chapter 3 with BirdoPrey hot on his tail. Great stuff this is.
This is probably the most interesting race I've ever commentated.
This is the best race, I mean, up to now that I've seen in the tournament so far, but I knew that this race was going to be close. Moving now into Chapter 4, you're going to see a couple things right away. The clouds are basically trampolines. You bounce off them, and you can do some really wacky stuff with them, actually. If you dash off them, and if you jump off them at the same time. And you're going to see some wind here. Wind is basically wind. It's not really needed to be explained that much, other than there are different powers of wind and different intervals that they run on in some rooms. And there are also these little green balls that you're going to see right there. Basically, it just pushes Madeline in a specific direction, one of the 8 directions.
For a dash distance.
Yeah, dash distance. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, I was stumbling over my words a little bit.
No problem.
And then you have the directional platforms here, which go in a set direction, unless they have switches on them in which you can change. Cool little strat here with a couple of wall bounces. Wow, I've never seen that secondary strat in that room by Less Than Perfect. That was pretty neat, actually. Now the question is, what kind of strat is Less Than Perfect going to use in this room? It kind of looks like he's just going to go for the bunny hop, and he's going to make it across pretty easily. As you saw there on Birdo's screen as well, another spike jump. And now the wind gets a little more powerful. The wind becomes more of a nuisance. It's basically the name of the game for this entire chapter.
That and also Summit is being...
Yeah, Summit has... actually, fun fact. Chapter 4 only has left and right directional winds, whereas Summit, you're going to see an updraft and a downdraft section as well with the wind. As now Less Than Perfect is extending his lead a little bit farther than it was before.
But still, Bird is hot on his tail.
Oh, Birdo is definitely still there, like right behind him. Very exciting stuff.
Absolutely.
Less Than Perfect reaching the lock auto-scroller room at 158. Good time from him. As you can see, more powerful winds here now as we're slowly making our way towards the most difficult section of the entire chapter. Nice little strat here with a wall bounce coming up out of the blue, or out of the green orb, and he gets that first try, no problem. And he is now into the heavy wind sections of this chapter, which can be very, very, very punishing.
Especially with the snowballs.
Yeah, you're going to see some snowballs that actually are tossed at Madeline right here. They are tossed to certain, like, the same intervals, same time intervals every time. I'm not sure how much time it is exactly, but they do come at a certain specific, amount of time.
It seems like it's, like, 4 or 5 seconds at most.
Pretty harmless unless you do screw up your cycle for one of the rooms. It's Less Than Perfect really is just tearing through this section. He's really made up some ground on Birdo here as we're in the last room now where the wind decides it's going to give us a little bit of a push.
And this is extremely helpful in this case.
And there's Less Than Perfect finishing off Chapter 4. Hard to read. I think that's a 313. It looked like a 313. Don't quote me on that though. I couldn't tell very well.
All right. I think I'll be able to see it now.
So here we go. Moving on into
Looked like a
Mirror Temple.
So
right away you're going to notice these dash platforms. They travel on little conveyors, and basically when Madeline dashes, they follow those conveyors all the way until they stop. And Birdo, they're actually finishing up Chapter 4 as well. These red balls are basically the same as the green ones, except they travel until they run into a wall, or Madeline dashes out of them. And they also only move in the 8 directions.
that Madeline can move them.
Now, yes, he is. Oh, but he doesn't get it. Is he gonna launch himself? Yes, I love that strat so much.
Such a good strat.
He is gonna get the faster strat coming into that one room with the 1 dash panel as well. He's not gonna go for double bubble skip though, unfortunately. So, if anyone had money on that, double bubble skip is a hilariously difficult skip. For people who don't practice it. And honestly, I don't really think it's viable in a race anyways, but we did see TGH do it last night, and he did it first try, so that was very impressive, but nothing to take away from it. It is a very, very difficult strat.
Scap.
And it uses a mechanic we call corner boosting. Basically, if you land on the top 3 pixels of a block, or yeah, if you land on the top 3 pixels of a block and grab and jump at the same time, you get a slight boost, carrying the same momentum you had from the dash that you did going into the block. Very neat stuff. Although I don't think we're going to be seeing much of it in this race. As Birdo now entering the unraveling section, Less Than Perfect is there.
We also forgot to mention Seekers. Seekers are essentially just eyeballs that will follow you around based on X and Y axes, and if you get hit by them, you die, or if you hit the top of their head, they become like this little bat creature, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's a very fancy strat from Less Than Perfect in that room. That looked really nice, really clean. Also, if you do bounce off of a Seeker's head, you get your dash back as well.
Just like,
and they can hit the switches for you as well, the lock switches.
I forgot to mention that. Thanks for that.
And you're going to see it right there. Less Than Perfect just did it. So this last room of the switch and seeker section is very long and can be punishing if either your cycle is screwed up or you die or anything like that. But Less Than Perfect having no trouble with it at all. Just blitzing through this.
This is one of the fastest things I've seen other than Tej.
So we're going to see a skip that we call search skip here. Basically, yeah, a dash off the wall, gets a boost. Or that was a reverse jump dash.
Yep.
And that skips a large segment. Actually, it is the biggest skip in the game in the entire run that we do. It skips basically searching around a large area, because that area that we just went past is actually very, very big.
It skips about
in Mirror
4
Temple.
minutes?
Yeah, I think it's about 4 minutes, and it's basically an adventure to go get 2 keys to unlock a couple of keyholes, so you can take a red ball all the way across that room. And now we're going to see our friend Theo, who's trapped in a crystal. And the interesting thing about this entire segment is that we cannot dash while we're holding Theo. However, we can toss Theo or drop Theo, then dash, and carry our momentum after grabbing Theo. And you're going to see our runners abuse that a lot. And there's one of the instances where you can bounce off a Seeker's head.
It's one of the most abused moves in the game. Other than hyper dashing and ultra dash, not ultra, jump dashing.
This room is really fun, the one that Less Than Perfect's in right now, as you can see. Actually, he didn't get as much speed as I thought he was going to get, but you can really launch yourself along that room with the momentum from the dash platform.
Oh yeah, I know that one for certain.
Now, Less Than Perfect into the last room. The last room of most chapters are very long, so it is very punishing if you die in them. However, Less Than Perfect, again, has no trouble, and he's really picked up the pace after we saw maybe a little bit of nerves in the first couple chapters, but he's definitely picked things up and is gaining ground, or is, making ground on BirdoPrey very, very quickly as he's going to finish off.
Both are still very, very close to each other.
You can see that Birdo's been struggling a little bit here and unraveling, and in the search segment as well.
Definitely, I can understand. Sometimes nerves keep with you until, what, chapter 6, Reflection?
Funny, I had someone post that in the chat as I said it.
That's really interesting.
So now we're going to see another new mechanic in chapter 6 that Less Than Perfect is using right now. They are feathers. Oh, very nice save there, grabbing onto the wall. They travel a set distance, and you can push any of the cardinal directions on a D-pad, or you can use the analog stick of the controller. And basically, the analog stick on a controller is the one that you want to use because it actually maintains speed. That's a whole lot of tech that I have no idea how it works. Unfortunately, I'm not as educated on this as maybe some other people would be.
No leg skip, unfortunately.
Yeah, no leg skip from Less Than Perfect either, as BirdoPrey finishes up chapter 5.
Still extremely close, but not as close as before.
There is another mechanic here, these crush blocks. Basically, you dash, or they're actually, we call them Kevin blocks, thanks to the man that did the soundbite for them. The little that they make. Yes, that is, it's a very interesting story. And if someone does have the clip, feel free to post in the chat. Less Than Perfect getting a pretty difficult strat there, actually, as well. Basically, you can dash into any blue side of these crush blocks, and they will move in that direction until they run into a wall.
Yep, that, and there's also the bumpers. Bumpers are essentially, they will reflect you back in the direction that you hit them in.
Unfortunately, BirdoPrey messing up a couple of attempts on Lake Skip, and he is just going to go do it the traditional way, so he loses some more time there. However, this race still close.
Definitely. I can see Less Than Perfect choking a little on Summit.
Yeah, a Summit choke can really, and it depends on the room as well, it can really cost some time. And Less Than Perfect having some trouble with this bumper room, and thankfully gives me some time to explain the bumpers. They're basically bumpers. There's no explaining that really needs to be done. They bump you in a set direction. And actually, if you are facing away from them whenever you make contact with them, they give you an extra boost.
That, and we're also coming near to the battle and fight. It's in like a couple of rooms anyway, so we can wait.
Yeah, we'll be able to explain that when it comes across. So after Less Than Perfect finishes up this room, he's going to go see Grandma, say hi to Grandma for about a millisecond, skip the cutscene, and move into the next segment, in which you're going to see Battlin's hair. Basically, we are descending farther down, and we are actually going to meet up with Battlin. And there's actually some developer-intended skips here coming up in this very, very long room that Less Than Perfect's in right now. You're going to see that's one hole, there's two holes, there's one more here. This one can be a bit more punishing, but he gets it perfect.
Very, very... it saves a lot of time, especially if you don't want to go through the entire room.
Yeah, that room's actually very long in turn.
And the Battlin fight is, you get Battlin angry, so she wants to kill you.
which is coming up actually in this next room. A little bit of swag there from Less Than Perfect.
Just dying.
Just showing off some movement. And will he get the Battle Limb boost is the question. Oh, he's gonna... Oh, he actually completely screwed that up. That's a very unfortunate.
That's
just dashed a little too early.
That's going to be a little bit of a time loss there.
So if we could get a chorus of hey-yahs in the chat for this fight, what I believe to be one of the best songs on the soundtrack. This entire soundtrack is phenomenal, by the way. Shoutouts to Lena Rain for composing something as magnificent as this.
Absolutely.
But this is the battle and fight.
She's angry.
And basically, yeah, she's just really angry. She has a couple of different attacks. One of them, she shoots these electric balls out at you, which you'll see in this room. And then she actually has a laser that attacks you on set intervals as well, in specific rooms. And basically all you have to do to progress to the next room is hit her, rather than, you know, her having a health bar or anything like that.
Yeah. Personally, I think I like this approach better than a health bar.
Oh, absolutely. BirdoPrey making his way through the water segment now.
Unfortunate death from him as well.
As we'll see if Birdo can get the strat that I was about to talk about. It's called Battle Line Boost. We'll see if he does it.
You use the crush block.
Oh, yes. Oh, he actually retried instead of skipping the cutscene there.
I've done that before, and
it happens. It does happen. The retry button is actually on the same menu position as the skip cutscene button is, so if you don't get to the cutscene trigger in time before pausing, you can actually in turn hit retry, which is basically just killing yourself and spawning you back at the start of the room. And in some cases, it can be very, very punishing, especially in the Summit, which is the chapter we're following up this one with.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool little dash strat there on that moving block. These blocks that are moving around are basically the new mechanic for this second half. Well, not really half. The second part, second phase, if you will, of the battle line fight. As Birdo is now making his way through the first part, the first phase of the battle line fight as well.
Birdo is making a hot comeback.
As there's the commentator's curse as it happens. He dies.
Oof. Oh.
Less Than Perfect in the last room of the battle and fight now. Making it through. No problems whatsoever. That is actually the longest room. And now you're going to see he's going to get... Oh! Again with the retry! But it doesn't matter. That one's not costly whatsoever. You are going to see he is going to level up here. Basically, Madeline and Battlein made up. And now it gives our runners and Madeline a second dash, which can be used and abused even into some more wacky things and wacky strats that we're going to see in the Summit.
Especially if you use some of the springs to your advantage, you can actually abuse those double dashes very much.
8 deaths and still a sub-7 reflection. That's very impressive from Less Than Perfect as he moves into our final chapter, which is the Summit. Basically just a culmination of all chapters. This first section and the last section are more or less based on, you know, the color palette and the block palette of Chapter 6, but we are going to see all of the chapters basically fused together to make this last challenge as Madeline makes her final dash to the top of the mountain.
Can we get a fusion ha in the chat?
Birdo coming up on the end of the battle and fight as well. Oh, unfortunate death as I spoke up.
Commentator's curse.
It happens every time. It's just, you know, you really want to close your mouth, but you gotta say something. You gotta be entertaining.
Absolutely. That's what makes a commentator's life.
You hate to see it. You really hate to see it. So this first section of the Summit that Less Than Perfect is in now, the 500-meter section, is, as you can see, based off of Forsaken City, which is Chapter 1, using the zippers and refresh crystals and whatnot in this chapter.
Yep. Zippers are essentially just the same thing as Chapter 6's dash blocks, except it moves only on grab as well as jump on it.
You can see Birdo finished up the battle and fight as well. He's making his way up. He's got his second dash.
Yep, this is going to be a sub 8, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. No question. It's going to be about a 741. Birdo finishes that one off. That's a good chapter from him, though he did struggle a little bit in some places. Did cost him a bit of time, but this run is still... I think this race is still the closest I've seen so far.
Oh, absolutely. These are... they're basically on the same chapter every single time.
Very speedy strat there from Less Than Perfect in that room. And here, you're going to see a couple of... I'm going to assume that Less Than Perfect has practiced them, and he may be using the hyper dashes out of these blocks right here in this room. Actually, no.
Yep.
He's not... I'm incorrect.
Huh.
Interesting stuff. I figured that he'd be one of the racers that would definitely try that strat out. We'll have to wait until Birdo gets there, because Birdo did tell us earlier in a chat that he had been practicing them, so we'll see if he pulls them off. Now we're into the 1500 meter section, which is renowned to be the most painful and punishing section of the summit. Can be very, very difficult for some of the newer runners as well, for sure.
It's on Celestial Resort, and it is just high. Why did this room have? Why did these rooms have to exist?
That's a harsh death there for Less Than Perfect as well. Late in this room, very, very long.
Ooh, that's gonna be costly. Time costing. Ooh.
There are some very, very cool quick strats, especially in this room. We'll see if Less Than Perfect. Yeah, I love that strat. So, so cool. Actually, oh, but he is gonna take a death there.
Another death that gives Bird
2 deaths in the same room.
That gives Bird a little bit of a comeback.
3 deaths in the same room. Less Than Perfect taking a beating from this room. He is going to make it through on his 4th try, but that does give Birdo a little bit of ground.
Absolutely. He's now going to come in onto the old site section. I'm a little behind, probably. And now we're going to see the strat, which you do an extended extended hyper dash.
Less Than Perfect making it out of there. BirdoPrey, hot on his tail. Now we're going to see the 2,000 meter section on Less Than Perfect's side, but here's where I want to see if he's going to do the hyper dash. Yes, he is going to do the hyper dashes out of the blocks. That's what I was talking about, the hyper dashes out of the dream blocks. Very, very neat little tech.
Probably saves just like a second or 2 at most.
Can make a difference. As he's now going to be making his way into the 1,500 meter section. Less Than Perfect having some more fun with the win. Now here's an auto scroller skip right here. Basically, we're going to use an extended hyper dash to jump over this entire room. That's not going to make it though. I knew. I started to clench a little bit there.
Ooh.
But the second one, yeah, that looks good. Grab that block, and he's going to use basically a wall kick off the corner there, and he's going to jump up and skip a very, very long auto scroller in that room.
Bird's coming hot on his tail.
Bird is not far behind, for sure. A few of these rooms in the 2,000 meter section are actually quite long and can be pretty punishing if you die in them, especially the one that Less Than Perfect just made it through, and he's into another long room. This is the last room of the 2,000 meter section. Oh, and Birdo taking a death in the last room of the 1,500 meter section. That's going to be a little bit...
That's going to be costly.
Time lost there.
But still very close. We'll probably even see a PB from Bird. If he doesn't choke, that is.
Less Than Perfect using a strat there where he uses the momentum into that room to not activate the dash platforms. And another one right there where he uses a couple of wave dashes to use the dash platforms to his advantage. And here you're going to see another spike jump where we jump up, grab the key without using the red ball that's in the room beneath, and in turn saving a lot of time. Less than perfect, starting off this 2,500 meter section flawlessly.
Fun fact, I still haven't...
And there's the commentator's curse again.
Fun fact, I still haven't learned how to actually do the wall kick section for the key.
It's not easy. By no means is it easy. You have to be on the right... you have to be on the like just the right spot. As BirdoPrey is going to be going for that auto-scroller skip, he's going to get it as well. Both of our runners getting the auto-scroller skip very well. Now, the question is... You know what's coming. You know what's coming, okay? Is Less Than Perfect going to go for it? No, he's not. He's not going to go for door skip. This run is now invalid, unfortunately, guys. That's a total joke, by the way.
It's always been a joke.
The run is 100% still valid. It's just a little joke in the community.
Just make sure to follow Speed Gaming.
Yeah, lots more of this to come, and there's lots more. There's so many tournaments, so many races happen on Speed Gaming throughout the entire day. So if you're ever in need of some entertainment, you're ever in need of, you know, just some racing, make sure you drop them a follow across. They actually have 6 channels, Speed Gaming does.
Which is great, because then you can see all sorts of games. But
there is lots of Celeste yet to come today.
When's the date? Is it August 12th or is it August 4th? I don't remember.
You mean the closing of the group stage?
Yeah.
I think it's the 11th. Don't quote me on that, though. I'm not 100% sure. Less Than Perfect in the downdraft section, actually. Sorry, I was so caught up in everything else. In the downdraft section of the summit now, where the wind is pushing him down, basically. Oh, that's an unfortunate death. Not going to waste that much time, though. He is going to skip that flag, and if we could get maybe some people in the chat following along with the checkpoints, counting down the flags as our runners make their way across them.
Ooh. This is getting me hyped up. There was a reverse jump dash again from Less Than Perfect.
You know, Birdo could... Oh, there's one! He's going for the door! Oh, but he takes a death on the spikes! Unfortunate. The second try. Oh, he takes a death on the spikes on the second try as well, and yes, that's as expected. He decides not to go for it a third time. Unfortunate. Neither of our runners getting the ultimate door skip in this run. Less Than Perfect now also in the updraft section where the wind helps us up. And in my opinion, and I think kind of consensus for a few people, I think the updraft section is actually a little bit more difficult than the downdraft.
Subject to opinion, of course.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That was completely my opinion.
Personally, I think it's a little easier because gravity is just helping you out at this point.
Less Than Perfect gonna skip that checkpoint. See if it'll pay off. It should be fine. Yep, he's good. Ooh, he doesn't... He almost missed that one, and that would have been costly as well had he not have grabbed that there as he took that death. Now, Birdo into the final section as well. The 3,000 meter section of the summit where he's going through the downdraft right now as well. Less Than Perfect.
Dying.
Still on that updraft section.
We're nearing the last checkpoints as of this moment. So.
Yes, that's checkpoint number 4. Less Than Perfect, getting very, very close to the end here.
Personally, I think checkpoint 13 is still the hardest checkpoint in the game.
Checkpoint 13 is very punishing if you take a death there for sure. No question about that.
You gotta practice that one consistently, otherwise it's going to screw you over a little.
Less Than Perfect, almost to the top of the summit, making his way to flag number 1, and he is going to be your winner with a high 35 minute time. Very good run from him.
Yes, and
just a great race overall. And there it is, the 35.50 Less Than Perfect is your winner.
Will he join us for an interview? We will find out.
depending on if we have time. This race did start a little bit later than we would have liked. Get some GGs in the chat for Less Than Perfect. 39 deaths, so 3550. Very impressive. And now it's time to cheer on our good friend BirdoPrey as he makes his way through the finale of the summit as well. He's in the updraft section right now.
This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'll take a death on flag 12. Flag 12 not as punishing as flag 13 for sure, though. Will he get the wall jump? Yes, he will. He avoids those spikes. Good stuff. Feel free to count along for BirdoPrey, who really isn't that far. It's not possible for him to PB now, but it was a very, very close call for him, no doubt.
Absolutely.
That was a bad run.
Oh, and he's joining us. So, let's find out. How did you feel about, especially Chapter 1 and 2, where you messed up a little bit? Here to talk to us about.
I'm sorry.
We're actually getting some echo from your side.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
We're getting some echo from your side, some music echo.
Yeah, because I didn't have headphones plugged in.
All good, all good.
So, we saw that you messed up a little in Chapter 1 and 2. Was it jitters, or was it just,
Yeah, it was mostly nerves, because I was practicing it before, because I wanted to make sure my early game was okay, so that it was, you know, good for the rest of the run, but it was pretty bad. I got like a 107 in practice right before the run, so I was pretty confident, and
there is BirdoPrey finishing off as well. This, in my opinion, was probably the most exciting race so far I've watched. 37:53 final time, a 10:55 summit for him, and that closes off this race with Less Than Perfect as your winner.
it was pretty close up until like Ridge, I think, right?
Yeah, oh man, it was neck and neck through from up until about Ridge. You made some serious ground on him on Ridge. He'd had a couple of unfortunate deaths.
That
but
was,
yeah, it was
I mean,
very,
our Ridge
very
was really
race.
close to an IL PB, so that pulled me ahead. It was pretty good with 308, I think. I did not expect that.
Alright, now Bird is joining us as well, so, your early game was extremely good today, Bird. Care to explain why?
Sorry about that. Forgot about push to talk. Sorry, can you say that question again?
So you had a very close early game with a couple of lead changes. Care to explain how the ground got changed so quickly?
Well, I wasn't really tracking what Less Than Perfect was doing during the race. I pretty much just assumed he would be ahead of me the entire time, especially with all these like incredibly terrible mistakes I was making the whole run. So many missed dashes.
Overall, it was, one of the most exciting races so far. So give yourselves a good pat on the back for an entertaining race for sure.
Absolutely. This is like one of the most close matches I've seen.
But yeah, you guys really, really were just neck and neck through the first 3 chapters. There were lead changes left and right, and it was hard to keep up with. I know I was getting a little bit animated. I was pretty excited.
That's awesome. I'll have to watch the VOD.
Also, yes, we have a request from the chat. Can you justify the 4 deaths in the water, Birdo, in Chapter 6?
I honestly want to blame my controller, but that excuse probably isn't going to cut it. I kept on dashing up left, and that was not what I meant to do. And then at one point, I wasn't even dashing. I was just trying to move left to keep it safe, and somehow I drifted upward anyway. I really don't know what happened.
Yeah, it's a little... I noticed whenever I looked over, I was like, that just looks a little bit abnormal. It's definitely not usual for something like that to happen.
I noticed that as well.
Yeah,
Well,
very
thanks
good
for
late game.
commentating. I have to go.
Yeah, it's all good. take your leave. I think we're just about ready to wrap up here too. Anyways, thanks for stopping by as well, Birdo, and congrats on the race.
Sure.
Despite coming second place, I mean, you did great. You really did do great, and I mean, despite some of those deaths being a little bit costly, and I was actually very, very surprised how close you remained to your PB.
Yeah, I think my next PB will probably be coming soon.
Maybe
just
in your
based on-
next race.
We shall see.
Hopefully,
So,
it makes
thanks for
exciting
commentating.
stuff. Yeah, thank you for providing us with probably one of the most entertaining races so far.
I'm glad it was, and this is a great tournament, and I'm sure it'll stay that way. So
Yeah,
thanks everyone.
Thanks to everybody in Speed Gaming as well for letting us host this.
All right.
So yeah, that just about wraps it up for Gamzee and I. Feel free, make sure you follow Less Than Perfect and BirdoPrey both on
As well as Speed
Twitch.tv,
Gaming,
as well as all six of the Speed Gaming channels. We all know that you need your daily dose. You need your daily dose
a race.
of speedrunning, right? So like you just follow them. It's simple. And I mean, of course, feel free to follow Gamzee and me as well. We're gonna close things off here. Thank you guys for watching. The race was very exciting, and there's plenty more to come tonight.
We'll sign off right now. So have a good one, guys.
Have a good night, everybody. Of speedrunning.